Hey, Gurpreet, welcome to this podcast and thank you for being here. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for inviting me over here.
Recently you joined Google London office, right? And
Right.
congratulations for that. So, can you please
Thank you.
give us a brief introduction about yourself? Then we can proceed ahead. Yeah.
Yes, sure. So my name is Gurpreet Singh. I'm currently working as a software developer in Google. Before Google, I was working for Microsoft for almost 2 years, and before that I was in Samsung for almost 1.5 years. I'm basically a computer science and engineering graduate. I've done my BTech from NIT Hamirpur, which is in India.
Yeah. And also, guys, he's my junior, so I'm interviewing him. So we are from the same college. So yeah. Like now, let's start the discussion around like what was the interview process, how many interview were there, and what was the format of the interview. So can you please walk us through that?
Yes, sure. So
Yeah.
basically, I was applying for the L4 position for Google.
Mm-hmm.
So the entry level is L3, and the next level is L4, which is quite equivalent to software developer 2 in other companies.
Correct.
So for this, firstly, you have to go through a screening round, which is basically AlgoDS round.
Mm-hmm.
And once you clear the screening round, you are invited for on-site, which
Mm-hmm.
was basically virtual in my case due to COVID.
Yeah.
And on site, you will either have 3 to 4 AlgoDS rounds
Mm-hmm.
and one Googliness round, which is behavior round.
Yeah.
And for L4, it is not mandatory anymore to give a design round. So in my case,
Okay.
I did not give any design round. So
Okay.
for me, it was 3 AlgoDS rounds and
Mm-hmm.
one Googliness round, which is basically a behavior round.
Oh, cool. And what was the level of the questions? I know you can't tell us the exact questions, but can you tell us like what was the level of the question? Was it medium, hard level? And what was the like topic like? Was it from trees, graphs? Can you tell us about that?
Right.
Yeah.
So now, if I talk about screening, it was lead code easy, medium. So I was asked 2 questions on screening. One
Okay.
was easy, one was medium. The
Mm-hmm.
topic I will say was majorly stack and queues and
Okay.
BFS, DFS.
Okay.
I've observed that in a lot of interviews, BFS, DFS is a very common topic to ask.
Right.
The question can still be tricky.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one good topic to really prepare for.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about on-site interviews are majorly hard to medium. So out
Okay.
of the 3 rounds that I had, each round was like 1 question plus 1 follow-up on the same
Okay.
question. So
Okay.
my first round was basically a hard question, which was more of intuition based,
Okay.
something like that. And my other 2 questions were medium.
Mm-hmm.
One was based on priority queue, or you can say heap,
Yeah.
and the third one was based on set.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So mostly like your interview went through all these medium to hard question, if I can say, from lead
On-site
code.
interviews.
Yeah, on-site ones. And like what is the duration of the interviews like from telephonic to all the other rounds as well? So what is the duration?
You mean how much time it took for all the
Yeah.
interviews to complete?
Yeah.
So that is actually totally dependent on you. If you can tell the recruiter that how much time you need to prepare. So
Mm-hmm.
in my case, after I gave my so my screening round, I took 2 weeks time to prepare for my on-site interviews.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Cool.
Right.
And if you guys don't know, so a screening round is basically a telephonic round, right? Or like it's
Well,
a Zoom call.
it's actually similar to on-site interview itself. It's like a
Okay.
Zoom video call where you actually code. So it
Yeah.
is very similar to an on-site coding round.
On-site call. Okay. So like in my case, I had one telephonic round for another company when I was preparing, and it was only on the phone call. Then after I passed that, then I went to like Zoom call interviews or online or video interviews. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And also like as you said, so what was so how many questions are typically asked in interview? It is 2 questions or 3 questions, or it is dependent upon time that you have to spend 40-45 minutes in each round. So how does it work?
So actually, they mentioned that it is not fixed. they usually expect 2 questions, but it is not fixed. It totally depends on the quality of the question and how difficult that question is.
Correct.
So if the question is very difficult,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's only going to be one question in 45 minutes.
Oh, cool.
But if the question are easy,
Mm-hmm.
then you know that the question is easy and you are expected to give the answer faster,
Mm-hmm.
and you should be aware that if the question is easy, there is another one coming. So if there are
Cool.
easy questions, it can go from 2 to 3
Mm-hmm.
questions.
Mm-hmm.
Medium, it can be 2 questions. So in my case, my first interview was 1+1.
Okay.
1+1 means one question and the other one was follow-up of the same question. My second interview was also 1+1.
Okay.
My third interview was 1+2. I was asked 3 questions, which were
Okay.
follow-up of each other.
Cool.
But on my screening, I was asked 2 different questions.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how it goes. Like it can be a follow-up question. And if the time is there, if you are like, if you have solved the question, then another question can come up. So it is not that
Right.
there is some fixed round like it happens. If you particularly solve a question, then they will ask some follow-up questions as well. So you guys need to prepare with respect to that. Yeah.
Yes.
That's cool. That's cool. And
I would
like,
like to add,
yeah,
sorry
sure,
to
sure,
interrupt. I would
sure,
like to
sure.
add one point. So basically, during my screening interview, what happened was my interviewer gave me one question, and I solved that question pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the reason he asked me a second question, but he was actually just expecting just one question in screening. So screening rounds are relatively easier compared to your on-site rounds.
Okay, okay. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, got it, got it. So like if I what I take up from your experience, that first round is a screening round, and where like there are easier questions than the other rounds, and there may
Right.
be up to 2 questions and follow-up questions as well. And rest of the rounds you can expect medium to hard level questions, and there may be also like follow-up questions or maybe extra questions depending upon how you are solving the problem. And yeah,
Right.
I mean, there is no fixed category that how many questions will be asked and what are the topics. They can ask anything. Cool, cool.
Right.
Yeah, now like we have talked about your interview experience, and now let's talk about like how you prepared, what are the resources that you referred, and what was your journey, from start from preparing from zero to actually landing up the job. So I would like to have that all the journey. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So during my college days, I used to do a lot of competitive programming. I learned algorithms and data structures. So I was quite into that. Like I used to solve problems on various platforms like CodeChef, CodeForces,
Mm-hmm.
HackerEarth, stuff like that. But after getting my job, I was also Geeks for Geeks is a really good reference.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
after I was doing my job, then my competitive programming things a little reduced a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So when I thought about having a switch and I applied for Google, I like whenever you talk with Google, they ask you how much time you need to prepare. So I
Yeah.
directly asked them for a 1 month period.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did was since I was out of touch of my coding practices, I followed few YouTube channels. So specifically, I will mention one name, TechToes.
Okay.
So I referred to 3 topics from that particular channel. That was DP,
Mm-hmm.
graphs, and trees. So
Mm-hmm.
what happens is that will refresh your theory in case you need a refresher,
Okay.
and they also have few problem references to lead code which you can refer and solve. So that
Mm-hmm.
is what I used to do. Those
Okay.
problems are mostly medium to hard level, and
Mm-hmm.
those were my major focus as well. The other
Okay.
topics I also prepared, but they were relatively easier compared to these 3 major topics. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So after getting my theory clear, what I did was I was solving problems. My major focus was completely medium to hard problems on lead code.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was near my interview dates, I also solved few easy problems, because it is also important to focus on easy problems, because if you make mistakes in an easy uh, a
Question. Yeah.
problem,
Yeah.
then that might be a little concern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you said it correctly. Like, since you have been a competitive programmer and you have that exposure early on in the college, And then, after joining the job, you also took 1 month's time to actually go through all the topics, brush it off, and then try to start solving problems and practicing all kinds of problems, easy, medium, hard, so that you are fully prepared for it, right? So that actually helped.
Right.
And so landing up to Google, okay, you got the job, right? But now I would ask that, did you prepare for, since you are on SD2 level, so did you prepare for your system design as well, and what resources that you refer to?
Okay, so yeah, so in Google, if you're applying for L3 or L4, you do not have to, for L3, you don't have to give your system design interview. For L4, it is completely optional. You can say if you want to give it or not. In my case, the system design interview was not required, so I did not give that.
Okay.
But I was giving other interviews as well. So I gave Facebook interview, and there I had a system design round as well. So so I can tell you how I prepared for that. So for system design, there is educative.io, where you can find grokking the system design interview resources. So I refer to that resource to prepare for this system design interview. Also, there is one book which is called An Insider's Guide to System Design. I refer to that as well. And it was majorly these two only that I refer to. But honestly, I believe that these two do not cover everything. There's still few little pieces which might be missing. So like I had few friends with whom I had a few discussions to cover up such those minor missing things, I will say.
So I mean, you did some mock interviews with your friends as well, right? Just chat about the things.
So it was not mock interviews. It was basically like if I will bring some topic or I will bring some question and I will ask them how will you solve it, and I will analyze that and see if it is something which is different from what I studied. So and I will try to learn that as well if they're different from what I did or something like that.
Yeah. Got it. So you went through all these resources, and you thought that if something is missing, then you talk to your friends, you try to solve the problem together, and if you were missing something, you could learn from your friend as well. So I think that's a very good idea to actually, have your friends and maybe discuss things and learn from each other. So that's quite cool thing. Okay, so now the major question that, like, how did you apply? Like, did you apply through careers page, or like on LinkedIn you got the opportunity? Like, how did you land upon the opportunity?
Yes, so I have a friend who is working in Google, so I asked him for a referral, and that is how I applied for Google.
Okay. So you went through the referral. But do you have any like tips if someone is trying to apply in off campus? So apart from applying through referrals, is there any other way, like career space, right? So for that you should have a good CV or resume. So is there any tips around that, or is there any something that you could tell us?
Yeah, so possibly if your CV stands out, then you can be asked for an interview if you directly apply without a referral. But other than that, there are other ways as well. For example, you can participate in Google competitions, like there is Kickstarts, which happens. Google conducts few Kickstarts.
Okay.
If you participate in those and you get good rank, then you will automatically receive a call. I have seen few instances where my friends have received call after participating in such contests.
Okay. And like, I would like to also ask, like, what were the topics that you focused solely on? As you said, like trees, graphs, and DP, all these things. But what were the topics that you prepared for, so that like you could be prepared for all the like questions that are medium to hard level? So if you can, for data structures and algorithms, if you can, tell us more about the topics that you prepared and you thought that they were important, and with all the interviews that you gave, that most asked question from these topics, so you could spell out 4 or 5 topics that are most important. That would be awesome. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So if I talk about a little the questions that I think were that were asked to me, the topics will be somewhere around stack and queue, and then it will be graphs, which will mostly be BFS, GFS, but it can be more than that as well. So I personally prepared for more graph problems like traveling salesman, prepared for like the distance algorithms like Dijkstra, Bellman-Ford, etc.
Okay.
So make sure you go through those as well. There are a few like connected component problems as well, but I'm not sure like how frequently they are asked. But BFS, GFS is the most common thing that you will definitely find somewhere.
Yeah.
Then after that, there is priority queue. I will really recommend you study that because it's a really important topic.
Yeah.
Then it was a basic trees, a binary and n-ary tree.
Yeah.
Like binary search tree is also included in that. Then dynamic programming you can study, although I was not asked a DP problem.
Okay.
Yeah, and some advanced topic, if you know it is better. For example, segment tree, try, this traveling salesman. So yeah, they will always be a plus if you know those.
Okay. Cool. I think you provided us a range of topics that we can prepare for, and of course, like you need to be fully prepared to before going into interviews of these companies, right? So it's better that you prepare in beforehand. And now, like, I think I have asked all the questions related to like how you prepared, what was your interview, how it happened, right? So like you are in London, so how is your London life is going on? How is office? Tell us about that as well.
So it's winters, so London is pretty cold compared to India.
Yeah.
So you have to bear with that. Then about the office, I've been to the office. It's open right now, and but there are very less people who are coming because of COVID. Mostly are working from home. So
right.
The office life is really good. I really love the office. Like to be so yeah, so the office is really good. You have gym facilities in office. You have playing area. You get free food, free snacks.
Yeah.
Other than that, regarding work, I haven't started the work officially. I'm currently attending few trainings. So every person who joins Google, he attends training for 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm doing that as of now. So I cannot really comment anything on the work, but
right.
Overall life seems really good so far.
Yeah. And you guys are called Nooglers, right? Or are they only freshers?
So actually, they have term for every kind of Googler. So if you are a new joinee, you are called Noogler. If you are an ex-Googler, then you are called Zoogler with the X.
Okay.
And yeah, there are some similar terms for like every kind of. For example, if you own a dog, then you are called Doogler.
Oh,
something like that.
Cool. Yeah. Any last thing that you would like if someone is preparing for this company, not only Google, but FANG and other companies as well. So if any advice that you would like to give with your experience with all the interviews that you gave, so it would be really great. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, if you are preparing for lower levels like L3, L4, or SG1, SG2, then majorly your focus will be like for SG1, it's majorly the algo DS, which is majorly asked.
Yeah.
So for algo DS, I will say get your theory right first. Don't jump into problems if your theory is not clear. So get your theory right, solve problems with theory first. And once you have a good grasp over it, only then jump over solving more questions and all. So if I give my example, I solved approximately 200 questions on lead code to prepare for my Google interview. And if you are preparing for higher levels like SG2 or higher, then I will say get your system design interview preparation as well. You can refer to the resources that I mentioned. And if you have friends, I will say ask them to take your mock interviews. It really helps. I gave 1 or 2 mock interviews to my friends itself. That really helped me to understand what my limitations are. Thirdly, focus on your coding practices. Your code should be clean. You should be using proper variable namings. stuff like that. These things actually matter a lot. And the feedback that I got was like my code was really clean, and it really matters. If you're writing code, the important thing is you should not jump into coding right away. So how a proper interview works is, if you read, once you get the question, analyze that question, take your time to understand the question, and then you have to tell your solution to the interviewer first. Don't jump into coding unless you are able to convince your interviewer that this is a good solution, this is the best solution, most optimal one. Once you are sure that once your interviewer is convinced, like, yes, I think this is right, only then go and write your code. Then, as I said, write a clean code, and after writing the code, it is always a good practice if you can do a dry run or one or two like sample cases. That really that really helps to verify that your solution is correct, and it will work on some edge cases or some cases that you have taken.
Right. Cool. So these things that you mentioned, like, I think it's really important to understand that not only writing code is important, but how you write the code is also important. So like most of us, what we do, like, we get a question and we jump directly to the coding part, and then we figure out that, okay, if it's working, it's not working, then we try different test cases. But like what is ideal is, like, you can think about the question, you can ask questions if you think, you can also discuss the test cases, that what will happen in this case, what will happen in this case, right? So that you have all the clarification, and then you can start thinking about the solution, meanwhile discussing it as well. So now the system has moved to the virtual parts. You need to keep thinking through and like talking to the interviewer, so that like if they want to help you, they can also help you, right? It's not that they would not help you, they also want you to succeed. So what I say in all my podcasts, that the interview is not your enemy. Like, they also want you to succeed, but you have to let them, right? And the most easiest way to do that is, like, you can just talk through your solution, discuss with them. If there is some issue, they will let you know, or they will ask cross questions. And I think that is a great way to understand that you are going in a wrong direction. So you should think through and then figure out the solution and write clean code. As Gurpreet said, that naming conventions or all those kind of things, and the solutions should be very like optimal and production level, and it should work with, and you should do before submitting or before telling them it's done. It's always a good practice to do some dry run with some edge test cases, and then only tell them that it's done. So Gurpreet, if you want to add something, or I summarized it correctly.
Yes, you said it very well, actually. And one more thing, don't do the dry run in your mind. Do it in front of them. Like, tell them step by step what your code is doing, and so that they are also like on the same terms with you. That this is how the code is working, and it is correct.
I think solution is important, but how you solve the question, what is your reasoning for whatever the code you are writing is also important. That, okay, you are doing this step due to this reason, due to this particular thing, right? So apart from your code, yes, the code should be correct and it should execute properly, but your reasoning should also be sound, that, okay, why you did a certain part or certain piece, why did you write that particular code? So I think this also helps, like, because interviews all about like your problem solving skills. So if you are able to solve a particular problem and you give a proper reasoning, so that really works in your favor. So yeah, I mean, with my experience, I can say that. So Gurpreet, like, you can also add something if something is there.
Yes, that is very well said, actually. I would like to tell one experience that I faced. So in Google interview itself, I was asked a question which was more of a hard lead code question, which was more of intuition based. So that intuition hit me, and I wrote the solution for that. But although my solution was correct, but my interviewer was very determined to understand why this intuition is correct. So he wanted me to explain why this intuition is correct. And so I explained that. So these things actually really matter. Also, while coding, I will say, keep explaining your code while you're writing a particular section of code. So for example, if I'm writing a priority queue, I want to make sure that I'm pushing items into my priority queue at some particular condition, and why I'm popping them and stuff like that. These are important. And you have to make sure that your priority queue is like empty. Yeah, empty checks. The null checks are very important.
Yeah, correct.
So whenever you're writing, make sure you're making your null checks. For example, you're checking whether the input that is coming, whether the string is empty or not, whether the array is empty or not, whether the pointer is null or not. These things are very, very important. And these are very minor edge cases, but they do matter.
Right. Yeah. That's cool. I think these are some of the points that will really help the audience to, like focus on these things, because most of the times we are prepared and our interview also goes well, but we miss out on these things. And then when we get rejected, then we think that what went wrong, right? And sometimes we do not get feedback. So I think these are some of the points that we can, include in our preparation as well. And I think the best way is to like practice these things. So what I have been also telling like everyone who is listening to podcast is that like try to do like these telling the solution, or try to tell the solution when you are writing the code by yourself, so that you can hear it out, or maybe record it as well. Because when you hear it out, then you will find that okay, why you are articulating and how you are articulating your thoughts, right? So that is also important. So yeah, I mean, these are some of the great points that Gurpreet put, and I think you guys will be doing these things as well. So any last points, Gurpreet? I think we have covered almost all the points. Any last thing that you want to say?
I would just like to wish good luck to all the people who are watching this video and have decided to prepare for such beautiful companies out there.
Yeah.
So all the companies are really good. I specifically am in Google, so I'm really looking forward to any of you joining Google. And it will be really fun to see you there.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Gurpreet. Thanks for sparing some time with me. And I learned a lot, and like I had fun recording this. So thank you so much for this.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.